Ethan worked late again in the empty maintenance bay of Station Vera, a massive human-controlled outpost on the edge of known space. The station was alive with hums and clicks of machinery, but its corridors were largely silent at this hour. Most of the station's crew had retreated to their quarters, leaving Ethan alone with the blinking panels, tangled cables, and the steady hiss of the ventilation system. It was his favorite time to work, quiet, uninterrupted, and perfect for thinking. He crouched over a communications relay, a small panel of wires and circuits that had been sabotaged recently. Whoever had done so with precision, leaving barely a trace, but Ethan knew humans had a chance to repair it. His hands moved quickly, fingers dancing over wires, his tools clicking rhythmically. As he worked, he kept one eye on the hall outside the bay, a habit he had developed after a series of security incidents. Nothing seemed amiss tonight. Then he heard it, a soft rustle outside the maintenance bay door, almost like a whisper against the metal floor. He froze, ears straining. Most station personnel would have ignored it or assumed it was a stray cleaning bot, but Ethan's instincts told him otherwise. He gently put down his tools and crept toward the door, pressing his ear to the metal. There was definitely something, or someone, on the other side. Before he could react further, the door slid open just slightly, revealing a shadow. It was not human. Tall, slender, with pale, luminescent skin that seemed to shimmer faintly in the corridor light. Her eyes glowed faintly gold, intelligent and cautious. She froze the moment she saw Ethan. He held up his hand slowly, trying to appear non-threatening. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said quietly. What are you?" The alien blinked, her gaze sharp but not hostile. "I am Lyra," she said in halting common, the universal language humans used with alien species. "I need help." Ethan's mind raced. "Help with what?" he asked, stepping fully into the doorway but keeping a safe distance. She hesitated, looking at him carefully, weighing her trust. "Information," she finally whispered, "about a threat to your colonies." Her words made Ethan pause. The colonies at the edge of human space were always under threat from pirates, rogue factions, or worse. If she had credible intel, it could be critical. But why trust a stranger? And why hide in the maintenance corridors? He had questions, but one thing was clear. She needed safety, at least temporarily. Ethan made a decision. He reached for the control panel next to the door and quietly engaged the lock, securing the bay. "You're safe in here for now," he said. Lyra didn't flinch, didn't struggle. She simply observed him, her gaze calm but cautious. She could have left, but she didn't. Ethan realized that in that quiet moment, a fragile trust was forming between them, a silent agreement that neither would harm the other. "What makes you think you can trust me?" Ethan asked, leaning against the wall. "I sense intent," she replied simply. "Yours is not to hurt me. Humans, some are different, I feel it." Ethan was taken aback. He had never heard an alien speak like this about humans. Most encounters were hostile or transactional, but her words carried a strange honesty. "Different how?" he asked, curious. "Strong, fragile, clever, brave. You survive when others would not." She said it as if it were an observation, not a compliment, yet there was weight in her words. Ethan felt a flicker of pride, though he knew pride would not help them survive what was coming. He gestured toward the back of the bay, where a small work table held spare tools and communication devices. "Sit. Tell me what this threat is. If it's real, we'll deal with it." Lyra moved to the table, her movements precise, almost silent, her presence both alien and mesmerizing. As she spoke, Ethan listened intently. Her people were known as the Elyari, a race with advanced abilities to manipulate energy fields, a power that could make or break entire star systems. They were being hunted by rogue factions of their own kind, those who had turned violent in pursuit of domination and control. Lyra had escaped an ambush, carrying data critical to preventing an attack on human colonies. Ethan's mind whirled. A lone engineer working late, suddenly responsible for the fate of entire human settlements. The odds were terrifying, yet he didn't panic. That was not in his nature. Humans, despite their fragility compared to these alien powers, had a history of doing the impossible. And tonight, that would be tested again. He offered her some water from a small dispenser. She accepted without hesitation, her eyes never leaving his. There was no fear, only calculation. She trusted him enough to accept a gesture of normalcy in an extraordinary situation. "We have to move," Ethan said after a long pause. "If anyone finds you here, or if the rogue factions track you to this station, we could both be in danger," she nodded. "I can guide you, the areas you need to access. I know the paths that are least watched." Ethan felt a thrill of both excitement and tension. He had navigated the station countless times, but never with someone like Lyra, never with stakes this high. They moved cautiously, shadows among shadows, using maintenance corridors and hidden passages she revealed. Every corner, every access point tested his nerves. Security drones hummed in the distance, patrolling predictable routes, but Lyra's knowledge allowed them to evade detection. As they reached a junction near the central power hub, Ethan paused. "Why trust me?" he asked quietly again, unable to suppress curiosity. Lyra studied him for a long moment. "Because you do not fear me," she said. "Most humans would run, some would attack. You consider me as I am, not what I can do." There was a weight to her words. Ethan realized that this was more than a tactical alliance. In a way, she had chosen him, or at least acknowledged him, as a human worthy of trust. That acknowledgement, small as it seemed, mattered more than he could articulate. The corridors began to widen as they approached the network hub. Lights flickered occasionally, a reminder of the station's age and constant need for repair. Ethan felt a familiar sense of control. Here, among machines and circuits, he could make a difference. Lyra's presence added an unpredictable variable, but also a profound sense of purpose. Together, they were more than either alone. Suddenly, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed from the other end of the corridor. Ethan tensed. Lyra motioned for him to stay still, pressing against the wall. A pair of rogue Elyari agents passed by, their movements sharp, their energy manipulation faintly visible in the dim light. They were searching but oblivious to Ethan and Lyra's presence. Ethan held his breath, feeling the thrill of danger mixed with the exhilaration of being alive in the moment. Once the threat passed, Lyra exhaled softly, her composure barely shaken. Ethan glanced at her, impressed. "You're calm in the worst situations," he said. "Necessity," she replied simply. "Calm is survival." They reached the network hub's outer door, and Ethan keyed in an override. As the door slid open, the hum of the station's main systems grew louder, a reminder of the stakes at hand. Lyra led the way inside, showing him the control panels and data ports that required immediate access. She moved with precision, demonstrating a knowledge that was almost second nature. Ethan followed, connecting his tools to the systems, bypassing security protocols, and preparing to upload the information Lyra carried. Minutes stretched into tension-filled hours as they worked. Every click, every adjustment mattered. Outside, the station's hum continued, oblivious to the small drama unfolding within its maintenance corridors. Ethan and Lyra formed an unspoken rhythm, their movements synchronized in a way that made it seem as if they had worked together for years, not hours. Finally, the system accepted the data. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly, a signal of relief and validation. Ethan leaned back, exhausted but satisfied. "We did it," he said quietly. She nodded, her gaze lingering on him. "You are not like the others," she said. "You have the courage of your people, yet the wisdom of a careful mind." Ethan smiled faintly. "I do what I can, and tonight I'm glad you trusted me." The locked maintenance bay had become more than a hiding place. It was a proving ground, a space where two very different beings, human and Elyari, had met, understood, and survived together. And though the night was far from over, Ethan knew that this fragile alliance could change the future of human colonies, and perhaps even the fate of entire star systems. As they prepared to leave the hub and face whatever came next, the bond between them was clear: trust, respect, and a shared determination to survive and protect others. And in that moment, in the quiet hum of the station, Ethan felt a spark of something rare: hope. The corridors of Station Vera were quieter than ever, yet the silence felt tense. Ethan and Lyra moved cautiously, their every step measured, as though the shadows themselves could give them away. The station's hum was constant, a mechanical heartbeat that reminded them both that they were deep inside a human-built marvel. For Ethan, these corridors were familiar, but with Lyra at his side, every corner felt unpredictable, charged with an unknown energy. "Where to next?" Ethan asked softly, careful not to draw attention. His tools were tucked in his belt, and he carried a portable scanner to detect energy fluctuations. Lyra glanced down one long hallway, her eyes narrowing slightly. "We need the communications array on the upper deck," she said. "From there, we can relay the data to your colonies, but the path is dangerous. Patrols are more frequent in that section, and the rogue factions know this station well." Ethan nodded. Danger had never deterred him before, but this was different. He had faced mechanical failures, unstable power grids, and even occasional fires in cramped corridors, but never hunters, highly trained Elyari agents seeking a fleeing member of their own race. The thought sent a ripple of adrenaline through him, sharpening his focus. They moved down the first corridor, walls lined with exposed conduits and blinking control panels. Lyra led with quiet confidence, gliding almost silently over the metal floor, her presence ethereal. Ethan followed, keeping low and careful, listening for any unusual sounds. He admired her control, every movement precise, every decision deliberate. Humans were often loud, clumsy in their attempts at stealth, but Lyra made it look effortless. "Do your people trust humans often?" Ethan asked, trying to break the tension as they moved. Lyra's eyes flicked to him, the faint glow of her skin reflecting in the dim light. "Few do. Most think humans are reckless, fragile, incapable of surviving serious danger without guidance. I thought the same once. But some humans," she paused, studying him carefully. "You are different." Ethan couldn't help a small smile. "Different how?" "Calculating, adaptable, careful, yet brave. You survive where others would fail. That is rare." Ethan kept walking, feeling the weight of her words. Praise from an alien who had lived centuries longer than him wasn't something he had expected. But he didn't let it distract him. He had to focus. Lyra's life, and perhaps the lives of countless humans, depended on him. The path to the upper deck wasn't direct. Lyra led him through maintenance shafts and service tunnels, narrow spaces where their steps barely echoed. Occasionally, they had to squeeze past bulkheads or duck under low-hanging conduits. Ethan's muscles ached from the unusual angles, but he ignored the discomfort, pushing onward. Every twist in the tunnel brought them closer to their goal, and closer to potential danger. Halfway through, the faint hum of a patrol drone reached their ears. Ethan froze, signaling for Lyra to stop. A small drone floated past, its sensors sweeping the corridor methodically. Lyra's hands moved subtly, emitting a barely visible energy pulse that interfered with the drone's sensors, causing it to drift past without detecting them. Ethan's jaw tightened in admiration. He had never seen such precise control of energy manipulation. "You make it look easy," he whispered once the drone had passed. "It is not easy," she replied. "Control requires focus and restraint. One mistake and it is over." Ethan nodded, feeling a deeper respect for her abilities. Humans were resilient and clever, yes, but Lyra's people were something beyond comprehension. Yet here she was, trusting him, moving through his world with him at her side. That trust was a responsibility Ethan did not take lightly. As they approached a junction leading to the upper deck, A sudden alarm echoed through the station. Red lights flashed, and the air vibrated with the sound of the alert. Ethan's heart pounded. "They've found us," he said grimly. Lyra's eyes narrowed and she moved with lightning speed, pulling Ethan into a side maintenance alcove. "Quickly," she hissed. "They are close. We cannot reach the array the normal way." Ethan's mind raced. He had scanned the station layouts before, knew alternate routes, but none were without risk. Lyra touched a panel and a small section of the wall slid open, revealing a narrow crawlspace. "This will take us close enough," she said. They entered the crawlspace, moving in silence. Ethan had crawled through tight spaces before, but never like this. The walls were cold metal, slick in some areas, and the passage twisted in ways that made it almost impossible to maintain balance. Lyra moved like water, bending and stretching, guiding him over obstacles and around low-hanging beams. Hours, or maybe minutes, time felt distorted in the crawlspace, passed before they reached an access hatch near the communications array. Ethan pried it open while Lyra kept watch. The upper deck spread out before them, a labyrinth of panels, antennas, and blinking lights, humming with energy. From here, they could transmit Lyra's intel to human colonies, potentially saving thousands of lives. But they weren't alone. A group of rogue Elyari agents had discovered their trail. Ethan caught sight of them moving through the upper deck, their movements calculated and silent, but deadly. The agents were armed with devices that could manipulate energy as Lyra did, a terrifying prospect if they managed to corner them. Ethan and Lyra crouched behind a row of antenna arrays. "We need a plan," he whispered. "If they spot us, we won't have a second chance." Lyra nodded. "We improvise. Humans are clever in ways my people underestimate. You will see." Ethan felt a surge of confidence, strange and exhilarating. Humans often relied on creativity and adaptability when brute strength or advanced powers failed. This would be one of those moments. He set to work, scanning the communications array and the surrounding conduits. If he could overload the station's systems just enough to create a temporary shield, they could transmit the data without being interrupted. Lyra provided guidance, using subtle energy pulses to stabilize the array as Ethan connected wires and rerouted power. Their movements were synchronized, each step building on the other's strengths. The rogue agents moved closer, their energy signatures flickering in the array's sensors. Ethan's pulse quickened. Every second counted. He adjusted the power flow, feeling the heat of the circuits against his gloves. Lyra's hands glowed faintly, stabilizing the energy around him, countering surges that could fry the system. Suddenly, one agent's sensors swept directly over them. Ethan froze, barely breathing. Lyra's pulse warped the agent's energy perception, making them seem invisible for a moment. It was enough. They slipped past undetected, moving closer to the array. "Almost there," Ethan whispered. He connected the final wire, preparing to initiate the broadcast. Lyra placed her hands on the control panel, her energy field interweaving with the system. Together, they created a bridge between human technology and alien power, a combination neither species could have accomplished alone. The broadcast initiated, sending the intel to human command. Ethan exhaled slowly, but the relief was short-lived. The rogue agents had realized their trick and were converging rapidly. They had little time to escape. "Follow me," Lyra said, leading him to a secondary maintenance corridor. "I know a safe exit." Ethan followed, heart pounding. The agents pursued, energy sparks flying, alarms blaring. Ethan's human ingenuity was tested as he navigated the maze-like corridors, dodging hazards and improvising traps to slow their pursuers. Lyra moved seamlessly beside him, neutralizing threats with precision. Finally, they reached a secure chamber with a heavy door. Lyra activated a locking mechanism with a pulse of energy, sealing the rogue agents out. They were safe for now. Ethan sank to the floor, exhausted but exhilarated. You did well, Lyra said softly. You and your people, you are capable of more than I imagined. Ethan looked at her, catching a glimpse of something rare, respect and perhaps admiration. We make a good team, he said. I couldn't have done this without you. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. Nor I without you. Perhaps we are both stronger together than apart. For the first time, Ethan felt the full weight of what they had accomplished. Not just survival, but a partnership that bridged worlds. Humans, fragile and unpredictable, had earned the respect of an alien race known for power and precision. That was the essence of human potential: ingenuity, courage, and the ability to adapt where others could not. As they rested, Ethan and Lyra began to plan their next steps. The station was still dangerous, and the rogue factions would not give up easily. But for now, in the quiet hum of the sealed chamber, there was a rare moment of peace, a moment where trust, cooperation, and human ingenuity had prevailed against incredible odds. Ethan knew that the night was far from over. Challenges awaited them, dangers that would test every skill and every instinct. But he also knew that with Lyra at his side, they could face anything. Together, human and Elyari, they had survived the impossible. And the story of their alliance was only beginning. Ethan leaned against the cold metal wall of the secure chamber, breathing heavily. Lyra sat across from him, her golden eyes dimly glowing as she monitored the energy pulses around the station. For a moment, silence hung between them, broken only by the faint hum of Station Vera. They were safe, for now, but Ethan knew the danger had not ended. The rogue Elyari would not abandon their hunt so easily. "We can't stay here," Ethan said finally, straightening and checking his tools. "Eventually, they'll find another way in. We need to move to the command center and ensure the intel reaches every human colony." Lyra nodded, her expression serious. "I can guide you, but the path will be the most dangerous yet. The upper decks are heavily monitored, and the station's defense systems will not distinguish between you and the rogue agents if we trigger them." Ethan's mind raced. They had survived ambushes, patrols, and drones, but the command center was the station's nerve center. It was the most fortified place on Vera. Yet, he also felt a surge of determination. Humans often succeeded where others underestimated them. Ingenuity and courage had always been their tools, and tonight they would be tested again. They exited the chamber and moved cautiously through maintenance tunnels. Every corridor was tense, every shadow potentially hiding danger. Ethan carried a portable energy scanner, while Lyra's subtle energy manipulations helped mask their presence from the station's surveillance systems. "Tell me," Ethan asked as they crawled through a tight access shaft, "why are you risking so much to save humans?" "You don't owe us anything." Lyra's eyes flickered with the faint glow of thought. "Because your colonies are at risk from my own kind. They see humans as obstacles or tools. You are not expendable. I cannot allow them to destroy lives that do not belong to them." Ethan felt respect deepen for her. Most humans would have viewed aliens as distant, incomprehensible beings, but here was one who had chosen to trust him and his species. It was a bond beyond culture, language, or power, an alliance forged in necessity and strengthened by courage. They emerged from the shaft near the upper deck, crouching behind a row of antennas. Ethan's pulse quickened. The command center's entrance was in sight, heavily guarded by automated drones and energy barriers. The rogue Elyari had anticipated their approach and were patrolling aggressively. "We'll have to move fast," Lyra whispered. "I can disable the energy barriers momentarily, but it will take precise timing." Ethan nodded. Together, they synchronized their movements. Lyra extended her hands, creating subtle distortions in the energy field that kept the barriers momentarily inactive. Ethan sprinted forward, using the window of opportunity to reach the command center's outer door. Lyra followed, her movements fluid, almost silent despite the speed. Once inside, they faced a new challenge, a series of security locks and energy grids designed to prevent unauthorized access. Ethan's engineering skills were pushed to the limit. He worked with rapid precision, bypassing locks, rerouting circuits, and stabilizing energy flows that fluctuated dangerously. Lyra assisted, her alien abilities fine-tuning the system and countering surges that could have fried both him and the station's network. Time was critical. Every second spent inside the command center was a gamble. Ethan could feel the tension building outside, the faint energy signatures of the rogue Elyari closing in. Yet he remained focused, guided by logic and experience. Humans had a remarkable ability to improvise under pressure, and this was a test of that very quality. Finally, Ethan accessed the terminal where Lyra's intel could be broadcast to human colonies. The information included precise locations, fleet movements, and details of the rogue faction's plans. It was enough to prevent a coordinated attack that could have destroyed multiple colonies. "Ready?" Ethan asked, glancing at Lyra. She nodded. "Do it." With a deep breath, Ethan initiated the transmission. Lights blinked across the terminal, energy pulsed through the station, and a quiet hum indicated the broadcast was underway. But no victory comes without consequence. The rogue Elyari breached the command center's outer perimeter. Ethan and Lyra could hear the distant hum of their energy weapons charging, a warning that confrontation was imminent. Ethan assessed the situation. Humans were often underestimated because they relied on creativity rather than raw power. He could turn the station's systems to their advantage. Quickly, he manipulated the energy conduits, creating a temporary energy shield around the command center. The shield was unstable and would last only moments, but it would give them just enough time. Lyra amplified the energy field, stabilizing the shield while simultaneously preparing to counter any breach attempts. Sparks flew as rogue Elyari weapons collided with the shield, their energy blasts dissipating harmlessly against the protective barrier. Ethan felt a surge of pride and adrenaline, human ingenuity and alien power, working together to survive the impossible. "We can hold them," Ethan shouted over the hum of the energy field. Lyra's hands glowed, her energy weaving through the station's systems like a conductor guiding an orchestra. "Keep the broadcast stable. They must receive this." The minutes stretched, each second a battle of wits and willpower. The rogue Elyari pressed harder, attempting to bypass the shield, but Ethan anticipated their strategies, rerouting energy and adjusting the shield in real time. Lyra, calm yet fierce, countered every surge with precise energy pulses, ensuring the system remained stable. Finally, the broadcast completed. Confirmation messages from multiple human colonies blinked across the terminal. The intel had reached its destination. Ethan allowed himself a brief exhale of relief, but there was no time to linger. "Now we leave," Lyra said. "They will not give up easily." Ethan nodded. Together, they moved through the command center, slipping past the rogue Elyari, who had been momentarily distracted by the shield. They retraced their path through maintenance corridors, careful and silent, until they reached a secure observation deck overlooking the station's docking bays. For a moment, the chaos of pursuit faded, replaced by a quiet view of space. Stars stretched infinitely beyond the station's hull, each one a reminder of the vastness and fragility of human colonies. Ethan and Lyra stood side by side, catching their breath. "You did it," Ethan said quietly. "You saved lives tonight, not just human but your people too." Lyra looked at him, her expression softening in a rare display of emotion. "We did it together. I could not have done this alone, human. You are remarkable." Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans often surprise others, and ourselves." The observation deck was silent save for the hum of the station. For the first time since the night began, there was no immediate threat. The rogue Elyari would regroup, but the intel they had transmitted would prevent countless deaths. Their alliance, fragile yet strong, had made the difference. Ethan and Lyra spoke little, letting the quiet settle around them. There was an unspoken understanding. Despite their differences, despite the danger, they had proven that cooperation, ingenuity, and trust could overcome even the deadliest threats. Humans, often underestimated, had earned respect once again, this time from an alien who had lived centuries and seen countless battles. Finally, Lyra turned to him. "You have my respect, Ethan, and perhaps my gratitude as well." Ethan chuckled softly. "I think that's fair." "And I have yours." They spent the remainder of the night on the observation deck, watching the stars. The station was still, the threat momentarily gone, and the universe seemed vast and full of possibilities. For Ethan, it was a rare moment of reflection, a chance to realize the full impact of human courage and intelligence. For Lyra, it was a moment to see humanity not as fragile or weak, but as capable, adaptable, and worthy of trust. As the first light of the station's artificial morning illuminated the deck, Ethan and Lyra prepared to return to the heart of Vera. Their mission was far from over. The universe was vast, and danger always lingered. But they had faced the impossible, survived against incredible odds, and proven that humans, fragile yet determined, could stand as equals, even alongside the most powerful alien species. And as they walked back into the station, side by side, there was a sense of something deeper. A bond formed not just in necessity, but in respect, trust, and mutual admiration. Two very different beings had survived, adapted, and prevailed together. That was the essence of what it meant to be human, and it was a lesson the universe would not forget. The night had been long, the danger immense, but Ethan and Lyra had emerged victorious. Together, they had faced chaos and death, and together they had proven that courage, ingenuity, and trust could triumph, even in the darkest corners of space.